So, in the middle of this episode, we paused for my medication alarm. And it's crazy because before watching the show, I just got off the phone with my dad talking about trauma and me, my insanity, and my psychotic disorders. Checking in for like 2 hours. We do it at least once a month, making sure that I'm stable. And it's hard for him to hear about my altered states and how life is through my mind. It isn't the same. It is for him, and he wants to fix it, right? He's a dad, and he's a good dad. But it was crazy because I just got off the phone with my dad, and then in this episode, they're talking about vulnerability, and usually we're on the couch and we say, like, we wrote the script. And then today, I was yelling, am I the script? Like, am I the script? I don't have DID or multiple personality, for sure. I've been diagnosed with different voices, but multiple personality disorder truly is super rare. We paused the show so I can take my meds, like I said, and I turned to Shelby in the kitchen. My dad has just explained to me how upset my psyche makes him, and he's always trying to make sure, is Shelby okay? Are you two okay? And he's so sincere. I'm pretty glib, flippant with doctors. I use crazy way too often for their liking, and they're a therapist. I just had one last week who meet me where I'm at. The specialist last week said, because I was having trouble with feeling like something was true. And she just says, well, your reality is warped, so you don't listen to what your brain is telling you. You're not seeing what's there. And what you think is happening is imaginary. So don't listen to your brain. Listen to what I'm telling you, because you can't trust your reality. It's off course or off compass, 16 degrees. And I can't remember, it was not verbatim that, but she said it so bluntly, I laughed and said, geez, maybe it's safer in the asylum. And she apologized because she feels like she can speak more freely with me than some of her other patients based on my own attitude, because I am crazy, but I'm self-aware, and I do put effort into being objective about the haunted house that is my mind. Plus, I know it makes people uncomfortable a lot of the time, so I try to add humor and dryness to the very heavy stuff. So, longest story ever told. This is what a psychosis is like. No simple tracks. Always point A, C, D, then E, F, H, G, before B. So, we're in the kitchen, and I'm getting my meds. I remember my reality check appointment from last week, my phone call a few hours ago with my dad. Both memories were triggered by this crowded room TV show. I'm in the physical process of swallowing pink, blue, and white pills to dull electronic impulses and calm down the brain fire. So I turn to my husband, who is a saint and an angel and always gentle with me. This boy has gone through some shit with me, dark shit, and I say, Shelb, does it ever scare you that I am a psychopath? And he says, so plainly, no, if you were to kill me in my sleep, there's really nothing I can do about it. And I've lived a pretty good life, you know? And my mouth drops open. I let out a guffaw because he doesn't even turn around to say this to me. He's just prepping his coffee for tomorrow. And I say, laughing, of course, have you given this a lot of thought? Worried about his sanity now, because I would be out of here in 2 seconds if there was a sliver of a possibility that someone would slice my throat. And Shelby just smiles, chuckles, turns to meet my baffled gaze and says, you asked. And then we both laughed, embraced, kissed, and reveled in this tiny moment, a representation of our insane life. And he, of course, followed with, I know you're not that type of psychopath. And I said, I'm lucky you love me regardless. Everyone, at least my close friends and family, know it. That's why they look at Shelby like this glowing savior that took responsibility for the liability that is me. And thank our Lord God Almighty that I am pretty. Well, obviously, I don't think that, but you do. Because if not, I don't think anyone would be working this hard to love me. And that's really just the truth. Except I just got my hair cut, so now I'm scared that you don't love me anymore. And I love my haircut. I love the way that it looks when I'm alone. But when I'm with you, it tells me that you think I'm ugly and you don't love me. So I just thought that was funny and relevant. Like I said, I don't have DID or multiple personality. There are different demons running around in here, and I wouldn't trade my psychosis with anyone else's. I wish I were more okay, but I've learned to live with the monsters that I know pretty well. It does bother me sometimes when people are like, I'm neurodivergent. And I want to say,
I'm not even me.
In episode 8 of The Crowded Room, Stan is quickly becoming my favorite character. I stan Stan. We get to see what I asked for in episode 2. Danny is going through these situations that we saw his imaginary friends, but now these scenes are shot alone. Something happened in this episode that I don't quite understand. We know in episode 4 that the lowlife park office drug dealer guy and Danny obviously had a sexual relationship involving drugs or sales and using and sex, etc. So as we mentioned then, why go outside to blow him when it was previously okay to do it inside of the apartment? Why make this entire scene going down to the waterfront?
I don't know why they went down to the waterfront, but I think in the scene where Danny's in the apartment, it's because that drug dealer has like buddies in there. He doesn't want them to know that that's how he like deals his drugs to this kid. And so maybe the water park is just
I thought there was just one drugged out girl, and that was it.
Maybe, but apparently that guy didn't want anyone else to know. So
I think she was pretty unaware. And there's no bathroom in that apartment. Really? You have to go all the way down the street, outside, and into a little shed. Tom is finally able to play more characters in this episode. Some are kind of stiff-feeling versions. Who do you think Danny does best?
I think that the one he does best is Johnny.
I feel like Tom does Danny best, which is not what you'd like to say about a multiple personality show character.
Yeah, but I think that's why I think that he does Johnny good. I can't say Jack because Jack is just Tom Holland. I mean,
it's not.
Honestly. Yeah, he's just speaking British. It's fine.
He's speaking awful.
It sounds pretty good to me. But I think the reason why I say Johnny is because Johnny, and they say it in the episode, is one of the closest personalities to Danny's true personality.
What does Danny do when he's Johnny? Johnny just enjoys spinning and rolling and twirling.
He's like sly and like clever-witted. He's also kind of more like loose in his movements. He's not as stiff or scared.
Yeah, okay, so when Danny does Danny, it's just curl fingers and caution walking talking. Like he's second-guessing every moment.
Yeah, I think there's a little more acting to Johnny.
So then when he's Johnny, he's acting like a human being.
A little more than a human being. He's acting like a drug addict.
Drug addicts don't act like, yeah, I'm dancing. Like he's acting like he's just a teenager.
Well, in that scene,
he's acting like a TikToker.
In that scene, he was high on cocaine. I'm talking about normal Johnny does not.
No, yes, he did. He just rolled out of that bed in the prison. He just did like a little flip, do.
I think it's good. I like it. That's what I'm going with.
I like that the escape artist being a motive for personality development. But who was the obese man in the disposed altar room? What purpose do you think that guy served? An eating disorder or just eating? Like, Danny didn't eat unless that guy came forward, and that's why all he does in this show is drink and do drugs because Jack killed him. So he can only have liquids now.
What obese guy?
The one that was like floating in the water.
Oh, I didn't even see that one. I was too focused on the old man with the long beard.
That was the obese guy. He's fat.
Oh, I didn't know they were the same people.
So Mike is just good at basketball, barely useful. He's the suave date guy, confidence. We pegged that early. Ari is his emotional outlet that gets pegged. I figured that out early too. She crosses her legs and is rude. That's how you know it's Ari.
Yeah, it's the telltale sign is crossing the legs.
So Jack is a father figure. Got that as soon as we saw the Jack drawing episode 3. Also crosses his legs in good posture. That's it.
Yeah.
Yitzhak, Rip, F's in the chat, was the most obvious alter for general protection and safety. Vitzy Tom tries to make his body like look big and gets in people's faces.
Yeah.
Like this, I'm just saying it's not as different.
No, and you know, when he becomes Jack, there is one of the things he tends to sit up straighter with more perfect posture.
That's what I just said.
Oh, did you say that? I didn't hear you say that.
Good posture.
Oh, no, it's perfect posture.
And he has glasses. Jack's the only one that gets a costume change.
Yeah,
This is the most interested that I've been in an episode, because when you call the entire plot from episode 1, it's pretty boring. But now that the trial is about to start, I'm excited again to see where this takes us. Finding any sex scene images on the internet for the YouTube version of this podcast was so difficult because they are all GIFs. They're all moving. People just went crazy with every little back and forth that could have been done during any of the sexual stuff. So this episode opens up with my second favorite character, Detective Dinner No Sex Simp, tracking Marlon down to Candy's bar, except she's not there. He is very smooth. I loved it. He comes in and acts out the part of really bad day, needs multiple drinks guy, makes fast acquaintances with Marlon to establish a connection, gets the information that he needs, and hands it off to Stan, the defense attorney, and we Stan. The show doesn't let you feel easy about the situation, though. Before the opening credits roll, the vibe is still questionable, a bit tenuous, not victorious. After the detective makes his quip about deserving a case of beer for traveling all the way out to the sticks, the music is still tense, and the mood of the characters foreshadows more to come. I like the line about Marlon's eyes. There's a lot of cool videos on YouTube about interrogations. They're long and I like the narrated ones, but there's a lot of detectives, because they see stuff day in and out, who pick up little things about criminals that a regular person just wouldn't notice. So I like the eyes line. And I knew Marlon, when he saw the badge, he had to act, because I don't know about your abuser, but mine always thought of herself as a god-tier master manipulator, always 1 or 2 steps ahead. My abuser would lay down the foundation to prepare for something long before the situation ever required it, like she was playing 4D chess. Living through many different situations like this, I was not surprised when Marlon later in the episode goes and does a similar 4D chess thing by talking to the prosecution. I think these abusers must sit and imagine every possible situation where they get caught and then react to these thoughts with elaborate self-preservation solutions.
Oh yeah, they would have to, because what they do is so bad. They'd have to think of every possible situation and then figure out how to get out of every single one.
Yeah, that's what it felt like to me.
Yeah.
After the credits, Raya and Danny are in the meeting room having a session. I have a huge issue with this. I'm mad. I don't think I can stress enough or completely explain how impossible it is for a mentally ill person to accept when they are abnormal, even if you're in an isolated or desperate situation like Danny is in right now.
Yeah, I find it a little unbelievable that he's come so quickly to terms with the fact that he has all these different voices in his head. It's one of those things where I want to read the book to see if this actually happened or if this is just something that the production is doing to kind of speed up the story a little bit. Because the freak out with Yitzhak, or whatever his name is, Yahtzee, I just find it so hard to believe that you would have a freak out like that and then the next week or whatever just be completely fine with it. I don't know. It seems like they kind of want him to struggle with coming to terms with it, but either Tom Holland's not doing a very good job acting like it, or the direction and the writing was bad.
Yeah. No, I have a rant. I'm glad, though, that you're on the same page as me.
Yeah.
So I was dying in a hospital, and then I was held against my will in a mental clinic, and then I was nearly catatonic. I'm hospitalized again for self-harm, safety, danger, and then I'm unable to walk or think or sleep or breathe properly over the course of years. And it did not matter how smart the doctors relaying information to me were. It didn't matter if I was in a hospital or locked up or under constant supervision. When you only know reality to be one way, and then someone tells you that you're wrong, and it's not, but you as the patient can't see that, it makes logical sense that you as the patient are not aware of and thus unable to understand what true reality would be. A psychiatrist I was sent to a few years ago told me over the phone that she couldn't help me because she only saw patients who were essentially in denial. She used the phrase, crazy people don't know they're crazy. And at that point in my life, I had gone through this cycle so many times, I knew that I had to be the problem. But I cannot believe that Danny would be already willing to, only after a few days, accept, from his perspective, the outrageous claim that Raya is making. And I'm not discounting physical proof. Doctors, family members, friends that I cared about more than myself would show me proof, physical evidence, medical test results, photos, videos like Danny was shown. People put me in different locations and clothes and hypnotized me in group interventions. It wouldn't matter when you're seeing, hearing, and feeling and living in a different reality than everybody else. When the truth you know is just as real as the truth everyone else knows, the proof does not matter. At least in my case, no matter how much my loved ones and doctors and therapists could compile and set before me, the proof would not matter. But here Danny is with one of the rarest and most difficult to understand disorders, and he's already on board with beating it. That took me years to even be willing to believe that I wasn't okay and that I was the crazy one. For so long, I truly, not even trying to be defiant, could not see. I thought everyone else had to be wrong because when your eyes and ears and skin and mind play tricks on you, your experience is just as real to you as everyone else's is. So I don't know, maybe it's because it's a TV show and the time is ticking, maybe the book did it better, maybe it's all made up, but I would bet that if this guy is real, the first person to be officially diagnosed with multiple personality disorder, he could not be able to accept this so fast. In my opinion, the videotape would not have mattered. Like I said, I had so much evidence, way more than just one videotape. Everything I worked toward, I was a straight A student in nursing school. Everything was gone. I've been dying. Even after I stabilized medically, I'm so psychologically broken that my head is either unimaginable insanity and altered states of consciousness with dissociative tendencies followed by violent panic, self-harm, and suicidal thoughts, or I'm catatonic. Because when your brain breaks like Danny's did or should have here, the repercussions are very severe. It's intense hell. So I'm kind of upset that we don't get anything like that from this show. It would be a complete breakdown resistance. Danny's alters use language like, it doesn't serve, and it would be catastrophic, because it is when someone's reality shatters. What were they protecting him from? Being a perfectly reasonable patient and taking the news with little change to his demeanor? Yatsik, like you said, came out, and then the personalities did a little explain-a-poo last episode, and bippity-boppity-boo, Danny's totally accepted that he's crazy. And I didn't get really pissed off until he said the line to Raya about just say crazy or whatever, because you don't jump to level 12 of acceptance and call yourself crazy in less than a week. You just don't. This is like accelerated psychology for dummies. It is not this easy. Danny quietly saying to Raya, it feels like my head is caving in, is laughable. A crazy person fights, denies, cries, and screams in anger and anguish. Intensive patient treatment is 8 to 10 hours a day. Most of my first few years of sessions with doctors were spent pushing back against them. Their claims to me were completely false. And then when that didn't work, I'd try pretending or lying and manipulating to get it all over with. It is just not simple. This guy not having any episodes now, no freakouts, none. I can't believe this. He should be more unstable than ever right now. He should be a wreck. He's navigating this like someone with the temperament of a monk, not a psycho. And I'm saying this as a psycho. Shelby, how many times did I, not for a while, but the first few years of us being together, did I have an intense, sometimes violent, sometimes physical with you, freak out where you were restraining me from harming myself or fighting me because I was trying to do something bad, or running down the street and finding me because I ran away, or taking me to the hospital? And this is years after I had already accepted that I was crazy, because when I met Shelby, I laid it all my crazy cards on the table, but my resistance to getting better was so much worse in the beginning, and they're acting like it was just fine.
Yeah, Danny coming to terms with like his mental issues. And then not only that, but Raya being so like forceful with it and just blunt is just to me so unrealistic, because the first couple of years we were together, it was pure chaos and you're like always fighting and stuff. And I always felt like I was walking on eggshells trying to watch what I said around you and what I did so I wouldn't set you off. So it was just
like now we can joke about it.
Yeah.
But there was no way back then.
No, it was definitely one of the hardest parts of my life. It was difficult.
I don't know why you're here. Why are you here right now?
Maybe I'm crazy.
You are. You're worse than me. Yeah. You're worse than me.
I like the pain.
Yeah. 10 minutes in, Raya and Stan have a fantastic argument about how to proceed with the trial. Raya wants to plead insanity because that's what's truly happening, but Stan wants to play the best odds, which, as he points out, judging by what happened at the embarrassing hearing, is Danny's best chance, at least to the amount of sentence. Stan is looking out for Danny's future and safety. No history of violence, and the shooting was targeted. Now, that doesn't make it okay, because I was getting a little bit worried that everyone here was acting like premeditated murder is acceptable as long as the person you were trying to kill molested you as a kid. Trust me, as someone who was very damaged and angry, I looked it up years ago. It's not, especially if you're an adult now. Raya is right that Danny needs help, but the state, the law, the government, the DSM, and the 70s psychological medicine doesn't see it that way. He'll have a better chance at surviving 5 years than 50. So Stan wins the debate. He's thinking more about Danny than about being right, and you can see how the pending outcome is weighing heavy on Stan. The scene at the bar that follows is important for the slower people in the crowd to understand that Stan isn't happy about the situation, but he realizes that he has to play the game. So I love the Marlon stuff in the next scene because it touches on an element of abuse that a lot of media doesn't portray. An abuser constructs plausible lies that invoke fear and convince you of a false reality so that it is scary to speak up or go against them. By telling Candy, nothing ever happens that isn't both parents' fault. Marlon is saying, if I go down, you're going down with me. But he's not saying it as if he will be the one to do it. The way that the sentence is worded, it's like Marlon is saying, the world, or in this case, the courts, will see you as guilty too. And that is more manipulative than a straight up threat. Because when you live like this continuously, these little word manipulations pile on top of each other until you're so confused that it really feels just safer to stay stuck. And that is how these abusers keep you. I love it. It was a great job.
Yeah, I think they did a really good job displaying that too. And I think the actor did a really good job of acting it out.
Yeah, this actor's doing great as an abuser.
Yeah, because I hate him. I would have killed him as well.
It's like Umbridge. It's like, yeah, you hate her, but the actress is doing a good job because you're supposed to hate her.
Yeah, I cannot stand his face.
Danny and his cellmate get some fresh airtime. Danny draws cute little trees. There are 3 of them. I wonder if it is representative of the id, ego, super ego, or past, present, future. I like how casually Danny's cellmate asks about Jack and Yitzhak. It's one of my favorite parts of this episode, and the scene left you wanting more. I hate that it was cut short. I would have liked to hear a short little recap of the cellmates' experiences with Danny living in that tiny little confined space. I wonder if he could be called to testify about Danny's insanity condition.
Oh, maybe that's why they put that in there.
Yeah.
It was a nice little...
It was just really short, like a taste.
Yeah.
Jerome has come to visit Ari, Danny. This actor kills it. I believed every part of his performance. I'm heartbroken for Danny at the end of the storyline, even, because here in the beginning, Jerome's first visit, he offers to be Danny's friend, and then 3 days later, he says that he can't do it anymore. And I understand the reasoning, but you just reached out your hand to this fragile guy and then took it back by the end of the episode. What's so heartbreaking is that Danny really does need a friend right now. And he seems to be doing better right as Jerome leaves. And that's just awful.
Yeah, I thought my entire thought process during those scenes was, 1, it's incredibly damaging for Jerome to keep going there to Danny. And 2, I would not in the 70s want to be Danny being seen with a gay man while in prison.
Oh,
I was like, this is just not smart, Danny. This is not smart.
I forgot
What
that.
are you doing?
And everyone already was like kind of picking on him. I have that
Yeah.
a little bit later in my notes.
Yeah, so that's what I was thinking the entire time. I don't even remember the dialogue because I was like, Danny, leave. What are you doing?
Yeah. You don't want these boys to find out about Ari.
Yo, no. God, no.
A lot of disorder treatment encourages people to make amends. I was. And I'm so grateful that the really difficult one for me, the one where I hurt this person who I cared about really bad, he could have crushed me with his response and just sent me spiraling, but he was gentle and forgiving, which I'm so grateful for. I wonder if this story here with Jerome was trying to show that side of mental illness's story, like the collateral damage of crazy.
Yeah, I think so. That would make a lot of sense because even though he wasn't conscious during it, each personality he had interacted with somebody in some way.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, he affected tons of people's lives.
Yeah. And the other part that sucks about it is that there's so many people that I didn't get a chance to say sorry or goodbye to because I know that it wouldn't even be worth it to explain. So I just have to live with the consequences and the fact that I'm seen in their mind as a mean or bad or something negative person, even though that's not who I want to be or who I want to treat people like.
It makes you feel better than I've forgotten.
Yeah, that's what I hope.
I forget things all the time. So, I mean, I forget half the people that we worked with when we worked at the grocery store together. I don't remember anything about half the people. So,
And, like, I just want to state that my demons have always hurt me. I've never been violent to anyone but myself. However, when you're not in control or in the right reality and you're unaware, then trying to be with regular people, there is unfortunate collateral damage or harm that I just can't even start to think about because I just get stuck in a cycle of regret. But it's not like I've never hurt anybody.
yeah.
Just kind of emotionally by hurting myself or disappearing or something like that. I don't know why this is here, but I wrote in my notes, Marlon is ugly AF. Candy would never be with him because she is stunning.
He was a goofy looking guy. He's got a really big head.
Yeah.
That poor actor.
Aww.
You said the actor was ugly AF.
What?
The actor doesn't put on a new face for Marlon. That's his face.
You're right. I was mean first.
Yeah, I just said he had a big head. I have a tiny head. I would much rather have a bigger head.
Really?
Yeah, I feel like it doesn't
Like
match my body.
on the top?
I think of like
Or the bottom?
what animated thing is it? But they got like a big body and a really tiny head. That's how I feel sometimes.
You missed my joke.
Huh?
Never mind.
What?
We rewatched the scenes of Danny as Ariana. Raya and Danny discuss vulnerability, which is mind-blowing because I was just having to explain to my dad that I love Shelby, but I don't know what it is to really feel love or to love, because to do that, you have to be vulnerable, but I'm almost never present in a given moment. Shelby kisses me, and I shut off. I go somewhere else. I feel like it isn't happening. Here's a better example. We worked over this in therapy, the two of us, when we were going to get engaged. Shelby is in therapy with me, and you and the therapist had to convince me that we were going to get engaged and then married, which I wanted to happen. I dreamed about it and asked for it to happen, but I just couldn't believe it or accept it. I was sure that you would never marry me, even when it was all planned out. My therapist, my boyfriend, and me, all working together to try to convince the psycho that she can get engaged. We purchased the rings together, bought them, and then brought them into the office. I would still say, he won't ask. He doesn't love me. He doesn't want to marry me. I couldn't believe it. The idea of that happening was not possible in my reality. We worked on it for weeks in her office, and I know that that can look like I'm pushing people away, but I'm not trying to. What was that like for you?
Oh, it was just an odd situation, but I'm glad we worked through it. I didn't know what else to do when we were like trying to work through it. I was just confused. I was like, I don't know how to make you believe this. I mean, we have everything here. What else do you need?
I know.
Do you need a video of us getting married before we get married to believe that we're getting married?
I know. No, and then she even said, like, do you want him to propose right here? And I was like, I don't know. It's not going to happen. Isn't that weird, though? Like,
yeah.
So that's what I mean by every single bit of evidence can be in front of a crazy person. And if your reality is not the same as everyone else's, it doesn't matter. We're holding the rings in our hands, and the lady was just like so not knowing what to do here.
Yeah, the brain is a confusing thing. It makes you see what it wants you to see.
Yeah.
We're really not in control of our brain at all, I feel like. It's in control of us.
So Marlon is served very easily, but Marlon is playing a long game. He probably already proposed solutions to this problem, like I said before. And I think that the show wanted you to understand that because Stan made a comment to the service guy. He said, watch out, he might be squirrely. And then Marlon just accepts it peacefully. So I think that was supposed to show you that he had something else. You know, he wasn't scared of it.
He had a contingency plan in case he ever got caught.
Yeah. In a session with Raya, Danny is channeling Yitzhak, imagining the situation outside Ghost House with himself and no Yitzhak. He does this again with the drug dealer and the gun, Mike and the girls, the party, Johnny as a drug whore. I don't know how else to put that. It's all crashing together, and it should be causing him to psychologically combust or collapse or something absolutely monumental and horrible like he's never experienced before. But it is just causing Danny some mild irritation, and he gets a little bit snippy with Raya. That's it.
Yeah. And then the closest you see is in the cafeteria with that one guy.
That's the next scene.
Yeah. That one guy yelling at him, which I kind of liked, but you have that obese guy yelling at him and saying, do the voices, freak, you're a freak. And he's like clenching like the paper towels or whatever. Like he's getting angry.
Food. I think it was a biscuit.
Oh, it was a biscuit. Yeah. But you can hear like whisperings and voices. So it's like you can hear like Jack and them trying to like submerge and come to the surface. And he's like fighting it the whole time. So I think that's the closest you get to see of him having a mental breakdown. Because in a time of need when he needs his personalities, he's rejecting them and he's flooding.
I can't tell you how many times I tried and failed, right? Like I tried to be okay and we're doing it. And we think it's all going to be all right. And then nope, no. You fall. So that it's like he was perfect. It's like Mary Sue level, right? Right. The first instance that you need to hold everybody back, you do it perfectly. It's just not plausible.
No, and I'm hoping that this is, I mean, I guess it doesn't really matter because if it's real and the guy really did this, then congrats that he was able to beat his demons first try. But I think that it is just, like I said, they're trying to expedite the show because they're coming to an end. They had only had so much of a budget or whatever, and they couldn't drag it on. Show a little bit of
struggle, though, because at this point, I'm not even really empathizing with Danny. I'm not even feeling sorry for him.
Yeah.
And you should feel so distraught for this person that's dealing with this, because in order to make these creations, he has to be so messed up. And I'm not even feeling that way. The only reason I'm kind of feeling that way is because I know a little bit of what that's like. But for the average person, it's like it's just kind of dry. You're not really immersed in it because he's not showing you how difficult this would be to get over and come to terms with.
Maybe they're saving the big mental breakdown
for like on the stand.
Well, for on the stand, but for when she tells him that Adam is a personality, because he's still under the impression that Adam is real or was.
I know, but it's so easy. Anyway, let's get back to the cafeteria. So these massive adult men are aggravating Danny, asking him to do the voices. And I don't know, I thought that it was cringe and cartoonish. Also, I thought everyone was scared of Danny and not wanting to mess with him after he completely wrecked the other inmates in the weight room. So now a few days later, it's safe to antagonize him? Did the writers just forget that happened?
Yeah, I have no idea. Either they forgot or that guy who is like teasing and bullying him is a retard, because
Yeah, so the big troll of a guy was just gross. He's acting like he's going to eat Danny or something. He felt like a pedophile Santa urging Danny to come and sit on his lap. It was a weird moment, and everyone cheering in the back. It just seemed like a cheap way to show Danny had more control over his anger. Maybe it was showing that Yitzhak was gone. I don't know. When Jerome said to Danny at their second meeting, the ups made the downs worth it, I was just thinking, my God, I hope my husband continues to believe that in our relationship because I cannot imagine functioning without you. Danny and Jerome have some cute interactions. I like the end message of taking the bad parts of yourself and trying to make them better, no matter what type of psycho you are.
That was one of the parts where I was like, this is not good, because he was like, just accept who you are. I was like, accept that.
No, but then he said take the bad parts.
Yeah, but at first I was like, accept that he has multiple personalities and just live with them. Like, that's such a dangerous thing to do.
Yeah, no, I didn't like that part. I think it was more like, if you can dance or you cannot dance. He was talking about that.
Yeah, that's true.
I was hoping that the TV show wasn't leaning toward become Ari and Danny.
Yeah, no, I understand. I understand what they were saying. They were saying take all the good parts of each personality.
Yeah.
The confidence of Mike, the dancing of Ari, the toughness of Yahtzee, the intelligence of Jack. Take all those good parts and accept them because they are you.
Yeah. Well, he's pretty much nobody. Like, he's so boring, and he can draw. That's it.
What is there a good thing? There's no good. Oh, okay. I guess the escape artist of Johnny.
No, don't be anything Johnny. Don't be Johnny.
He could be a magician.
Don't be Johnny. I do like how Raya in the next meeting addresses how disorders can get out of hand, becoming too consuming and too difficult to maintain. They discuss Danny, quote, going to London, but they don't talk about how he physically did not leave the country, because the fish and chips note was on the ghost house nightstand, and Danny wouldn't need to hide his face from the British police and all of the other reasons that we discussed in episode 4. So shouldn't you have tackled that? Hey, you not only imagined that you're other people, you also need to get a little bit of a more grasp on reality, because you didn't fly.
Yeah, you didn't even leave you didn't leave the city.
Yeah. Yeah, you did what I said. You took a taxi cab to the airport, then back.
Yeah. That's a little... Because
that's worse.
Yeah, his psychosis is even worse. He's not just making personalities. He's making entire new realities.
Yeah.
And that is way more dangerous than a personality.
Can we please address that?
Yeah.
I think they forgot that too.
She nailed it on the head when she said it can be exhausting, because it's exhausting to me and I don't even have it.
Are you talking about Danny's or mine?
Danny's. Maybe a little bit yours.
So I just wonder, did they forget? Because it seems as if some of the stuff that they set up in the beginning was purely to get the stupid people to think, oh, well, this is really happening. Like I said when I was going online after we were done recording our podcast, that there were people that actually thought that these characters were real instead of like dissociative multiple personality disorders. And so I think that maybe all of these issues or plot holes that we're finding or weird reasons why they're not addressing it is because the TV show kind of just wanted you to forget, because they wanted it to be a big aha moment when the idiots found out that it wasn't real.
Yeah,
and they probably forgot that Danny was hiding his face when the police walked by, because they weren't even paying that close of attention, obviously, if they thought that he really went to London, and then if they thought that Jack was a real human.
Yeah.
It also felt a little bit remedial when Danny was speaking in some sort of memory, and then it like morphed into Jack. Like the picture kind of stuttered out, and immediately Jack was sitting in the seat. It's like, oh, come on. We get it. We get it.
Yeah.
So Marlon meets with the prosecuting attorney, and Stan freaks out when the evidence about Danny's pattern of violent behavior and drug abuse is revealed. Stan calls Raya, and she comes into his office asking what is so urgent. In this scene, Stan speaks very quickly and directly to her, and I love it. Stan is explaining the change in tactics with Raya because of this new incriminating evidence. And the actor's delivery made the moment so much more interesting. When Stan says he's going to plead a deal for a longer sentence, and Raya, Amanda Seyfried, also does excellent. She looks angry and defiant, about to argue. Stan's speaking very quickly. His subtle shift in tone and volume raising tells her not to just stop, just listen. And so does his body language. And he verbally says, stop, just listen. The flow here is so great. Stan continues to explain if the plea doesn't work, which it shouldn't. He says, I would say no. When he switches to, you better hope that you can convince, Raya's demeanor changes. And it's so small. But when her hardness drops, she looks a little bit excited and hopeful. It's rapid fire pace and real and captivating as heck. It was such a great scene. And now we're also excited because Danny's going to testify, and it's going to be great.
Yeah, it's very exciting. It's going to go from like a psychological like mystery to a courtroom show now.
Yeah, and I'm so excited because I watch those things live, and they're usually so boring. I mean, actually, because I watch courtrooms live now with LawTube, it is way more entertaining than like the dramatized stuff because you know what's all missing. And how it's so unrealistic that actually the real life stuff is more cool because when something movie-like happens in real life, it's so much cooler than just a fake kind of setup.
Yeah. Well, let's see how accurate they get this one.
All right, that's it. That's the end of the episode. So we have episode 9. We were super wrong, so there's no finale. I think maybe there's 10 episodes.
You're the one that said there was a finale.
Yeah, I was wrong, incredibly wrong. I hope that this show never ends and there's never a finale.
The next one's going to be the finale.
Just so I could be just wrong every time. I love it.
That's funny.
If you didn't know, it's Halloween now, just so that everybody's clear. It is Halloween, July 5th. And so I hope that you're celebrating properly. We've been watching a ton of horror. Fear Street on Netflix is really good.
Yes.
We're on the last movie in the trilogy. It is kind of like the Spirit Halloween movie that came out last year, like that tone, but Blair Witch, adult Scooby-Doo, a little bit Stranger Things.
Yeah, it's made by R.L. Stine, so it's a goosebump for adults.
Yeah.
Is what it is. So it's
I've
very
never seen an
entertaining
R.L.
and
Stine
it's very
TV
fun.
show or movie, though.
You've never seen the R.L. Stine shows?
No, they came out like after I was a kid.
The episodes of the shows based off the books, they
Yeah,
came out every Halloween.
I've never seen them.
We're watching them this year.
And then I'm watching The Chilling Adventures of Sabrina, and it's very boring. It's not chilling or adventurous at all.
I mean, it could be chilling because molecules slow down, so it's slow.
Oh my gosh, bye. Thanks for listening to our stupid podcast.
See ya.